But I told her that she could come and do the pledge for us. And so we are so excited that you came to do the pledge. And so I have a pen for you, and this pen is the key to the city, okay? So you can take that with you and wear that to school. Now, tell us where you go to school.
I go to Thurman Francis Arts Academy.
Thurman Francis Arts Academy. And who's your teacher?
Miss Walters.
Miss Walters. And what grade are you in?
First grade.
First grade. Now, did she not do a great job for being in first grade? Nice job. Now, can you turn, let's turn this way right here and get a picture with Chief Bill. Okay, now you can go to school tomorrow and tell everybody you got to be on TV. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thanks.
Her meetings are a lot shorter than yours, maybe.
I'm sure. Okay. Miss Diane, if you will do roll call for us.
Councilman Cole.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Morrell.
Here.
Councilwoman Peebles.
Here.
Councilman Short.
Here.
Councilman Sullivan.
Here.
Vice Mayor Atkins.
Here.
Mayor Reed.
Here. We will move into item 3, which is approval or corrections of the minutes of the July 10th and July 26th, 2018 meetings. Jeff, are these in order?
Mayor.
Great. Do any additions or corrections? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes pass. Item 4 is correspondence or communications. Mr. Gill, anything?
Two or three things. One, Mike Moss, congratulations to him. He's got us to the point where we're about to go out to bid for Nolan Drive. That'll be happening probably next month. Tom, good work on weekly interchange and also Stonecrest and Sam Ridley. We're advancing those projects. Proud of you guys for having done that. And that's it.
Okay. Awards and recognitions. We have 2 items tonight under awards and recognitions. The first is the Smyrna Sister City presentation of Zama gifts to the town of Smyrna. I want to tell you a little bit about our Sister City program. And Mark, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. Okay. In 1991, the town of Smyrna entered into a sister city agreement with Zama, Japan. And at that time, Zama was the home of Nissan Auto Manufacturing facility. The first visit to Zama included adult, municipal, and community leaders, but soon thereafter, the town council determined that a student exchange program would serve the youth of Smyrna well and provide an excellent opportunity for a cultural exchange between students of both communities. Also established in 1991, the Smyrna Sister City Committee supports and coordinates a student-centered program to enhance and promote Smyrna's international profile and foster productive exchanges in education, culture, and the arts with our sister city, Zama. Students and chaperones travel to Japan during the summer every 3 years to live with host families in Zama for approximately 2 weeks. The following year, a delegation of students and chaperones from Zama stay with students and adult hosts here from Smyrna. And our students have just gotten back, a couple weeks ago? 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago. So y'all are just now kind of getting back to time here and all that. Jet lag's over. Well, we just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate you all going and being ambassadors for the town of Smyrna. I hope that you had wonderful experiences that you will carry with you for a lifetime. And I'm not sure who's going to... Mark, you going? Great. Sure.
Of course, it's probably been 3 years since I was here the last time for the same reason. First, I would like to start out by saying that we had a very successful trip. We returned with all of our students and our chaperones, which at some point was questionable because we were getting ready to leave, and it was about an hour before we were supposed to leave on the bus, and we got notified that our flight was delayed 4 hours and our connection in Chicago was canceled because there was a typhoon that rolled through, and we had to wait for it to get through. So I spent an hour on the phone rearranging everything, but we all made it back. But we had a very packed schedule. Like every day we were busy from 8 to 6. And so we were always doing something. We were going to museums, schools, Nissan Car Museum, cultural activities, and in between we had a little bit of free time with our host families. Next, I'd like to introduce the members of the committee who worked 3 years on preparation for this trip. Here tonight is Fran Dunn. Why don't you stand? Fran, Melody Welshofer, Risha Oliphant, Marianne Rogers, Paul Collette, and I didn't see Erica Williams. And also, Mr. Sullivan is our newest member of the committee, and so I thought I'd give him a chance to say something based upon his experience with attending our meetings.
Excellent. So I'll tell you, the Sister City Committee, when I first got appointed, I was thinking, I don't even know what this really encompasses. And when we got to the first meeting, I remember Mark starting off the agenda, and I kind of thumbed through the agenda and thought, this agenda is longer than our council meeting. And quickly realized that there is a lot more to a student exchange than you might think there is. I've been very impressed with how the committee has worked together to make sure that funds are raised, the students are represented, that there's chaperones for each person, that the appropriate student and chaperone are matched up with someone in Japan. It's been amazing to see kind of how they worked. When I originally got involved, there had not been a council member on that committee, and I kind of stepped in and thought, you know, maybe the council may have some words of wisdom or something we could do to change things or make things work smoother. And honestly, I don't know what you could do to make it smoother. Mark does a great job leading the committee, and the committee works very well together to make this happen year in and year out. So I've been very impressed with the work that they've done, and honestly kind of took a step back after I got involved because there's just not a lot you can do to improve it. It works really well, and they do a really good job together.
Great.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Tiffany to present the two gifts that you mentioned, one for Mayor Reed and one for the town.
Can we come down here? Do you want the microphone? Yes. Do you have the microphone?
This gift is from the town of Zama, and this was presented to me by Mayor Endo in Zama, Japan. And what this is it's actually hanging henna dolls, and each of these are handmade, and they each have a meaning. Some of those are love, hospitality, neighborhood. There's a representation for each of those. But this is on behalf of Zama to the town of Smyrna. Mayor Endo truly has a love for the town of Smyrna. Zama truly has a love for this town, and they want to continue this relationship for many years.
Great. Council, let's make sure we get a council picture with this so we can send that to Zama after the meeting. It's beautiful. It's done, or do we? Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit?
We're going to students.
You're going to have students? But let's talk about the mayor gift. Do you want to talk a little bit?
And there was another gift. I had actually already presented that to Mayor Reed. I didn't know that Mark wanted me to do at the council meeting. But it's actually something that Mayor Endo's wife made for Mayor Reed. It's a beautiful throw pillow that is hand sewn and embroidered.
And the relationship with Mayor Endo goes back all the way to when I was a senior in high school. My family actually hosted Mayor Endo. He was not the mayor at the time, so I've known him for quite a long time, and we have a very special relationship. And I can tell you, we both want to see this program continue on for a long time because of the experiences that you as students get to have. And I will tell you, the relationships that you build will be a lifelong relationship with the families that you all got to stay with. So I hope you all enjoyed it very much. Mayor Endo and I actually keep up on Facebook, and for those of you that remember last time he was here, they were waiting on a grandbaby, and I've gotten pictures of the new grandbaby, and he is precious, and you can tell very much spoiled already. So did you all get to see the grandbaby? Not get to see the grandbaby when you were there. So, so we have students that are going to speak also. Okay, great. Okay.
Next, I'd like to, first I'd like to ask all the students, it's pretty easy to tell who they are, but ask them all to stand up just so you can see who they all are. They're not all here tonight, but we have a good number. And I'd like to have 2 students and 1 of the parents just speak a minute or 2.
Great.
First will be Addison Schenk. You guys can sit down.
Konnichiwa, Smyrna Town Council. Thank you for the invitation to attend this council meeting. I'm Addison Shank, and I go to Smyrna High School, and I'm in the 11th grade. I'm excited to talk about my trip to Zama, Japan with the Smyrna Sister Cities this program. This was a life-changing experience, and I'm so grateful to have gone. I learned so much about Japanese culture and my own. This was my first time to Japan, but it won't be my last. I was able to try new foods, ride the train, see the beauty and cleanliness of Japan, meet people of another culture, and make lifelong friendships with the people of Zama and the people from Smyrna. Me and my fellow students were able to stay with host families, and were able to experience Japan through a more authentic lens. Thank you to the Town Council for sponsoring this program. I can confidently say that I brought home more than just cool souvenirs. I brought home a love for Japan and the people in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Lorena Cruz.
Hello, my name is Lorena Cruz, and I'm a senior at Stewart's Creek High School. I, along with the 19 other students and 8 chaperones, recently arrived back in the United States from our trip to Japan. Since then, I've been in deep reflection of my experiences. I joined the Sister Cities program in 2017 and joined my elder sister in hosting 2 of the Japanese students. Immediately, I knew it was one of the best decisions I'd made in my life and for my future. Now, after both hosting and traveling, I've made friendships to last a lifetime, and we've made steps towards bridging the gap between our city and one halfway around the world. But this could not have been possible without the generosity of our parents and the Town of Smyrna Council. I offer my greatest thanks to Mayor Reed, the council members, and local city businesses for supporting our endeavors, and I am eager to share all that I've learned.
Thank you so much.
And last will be Mr. Rosario, whose son participated on the program with us.
Hello, Council. How you doing, man? First of all, I'm Caleb Rogeria's dad, and this is his first time he attended to this program. And I want to say thank you to all for allowing my son to be part of this. And like I told everyone in the committee, I think I was more excited than my son, even though he was the one in Japan. I just think it was a cool thing for them to be able to interact with other culture. I'm Hispanic myself, but you know, I mean, going to Japan, that was another whole thing. So it's great. I love this program. I was telling Mark many times, you know, I just brag about it, and I love to be part of it as well. You know, even though my son is in it, I do have another son. I'd like for him to participate as well. It's just an awesome program. I like it. I enjoy it. So my wife will love to be here, but I have a 4-year-old. If not, she'd be running everywhere. So, but I think, once again, thank you for everything y'all done, for helping, you know, being part of this. So, Mark, I'd like to thank Mark as well and the whole committee. And 2 weeks vacation away from my son was awesome. Thank you.
Oh.
So to end, I'd like to open it up to anybody has any questions or anything for me or the committee or any students or anything like that.
Questions for Mark or the students?
Not a question, just a comment. You know, you guys have come to the microphone tonight, and I know I speak for the mayor and the rest of us, and you thank us for the support in which we're trying to make sure this continues. It's a long-standing tradition. But we thank you. You know, you guys are ambassadors. You go over to Japan and you represent our town. And so thank you for the support. Thank you for going over there and being carrying Smyrna and our culture and who we are and what we stand for over there to Japan. We appreciate that.
I'd also like to thank the committee members. I know you all put in countless hours to make sure this happens, the behind-the-scenes things that have to take place so that for 2 weeks these students can enjoy themselves. Is something that's hard for us to conceive. So thank you for all you do to continue to make this program a huge success. We really do appreciate it. Chief Bill, are you good if I get all the students to come up as well as the chaperones so we can get a group picture to send back? Would that be okay? So if everybody that participated, chaperones and students, would come up, and Chief Bill, if you'll come this way and face out, 1, we'll get you on TV, and 2, Chief Bill can get a picture for us. Do you want council to stand up behind so you can get council as well? Yes? Okay. Taller ones come to the back so that we can get everybody in. Good, Chief? Yes, ma'am. Parents, are you all good? We all have a picture? Okay, thank you all so much.
Hey, Mayor, before we adjourn, Fran is here, and Fran, if you don't mind, they've got a spaghetti dinner coming
we'll
up.
let her talk about
Since
it.
she's here, I thought it'd
Yes.
be a good idea.
Will you?
That was yours, huh?
And you all are welcome to stay for our meeting, but you do not have to. But while Ms. Fran's talking, if you're going to be leaving, it might be a great time for you to head out before we get into the actual meeting part.
Thank you so much. For those who don't know me, I'm Fran Dunn, and I am the director at the Smyrna Senior Center. And if you haven't seen it on Facebook or somewhere else, heard it from somebody, our annual spaghetti dinner fundraiser is coming up on Saturday, August 25th. We have moved it from Friday night so that we don't compete with Friday night football. And this year we're going to be serving lunch and dinner. Lunch will be from 11 to 1, and dinner will be from 4:30 until 7:30. You can purchase tickets ahead of time or at the door. Adult tickets are $15. If you're a member of the Senior Center, they're only $10. And children under 10 can eat for $5. So we want the whole community to come out and support. We are so grateful for the support that we have already received from local businesses and individuals who've done sponsorships. And council, you all are always supportive of our events, and I appreciate that so much. And we just hope everybody will come out and fellowship with us on that day for lunch or dinner.
Great.
Fran, I think you mentioned it, but tickets, how would people get them?
We have tickets at the center. You can buy them in advance. I'll have them on me. I can bring some up here and leave them at the front
Or pay
desk.
at the door either way.
At the door will
Okay.
be fine. Yes.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Fran. Okay, we will move on to item 6 which is our consent agenda, and these are items that are determined by the town manager to be routine matters and not necessary for discussion. If there is an item that a council member would like to pull off and speak about individually, we can do that. I always like to read the consent agenda so the public knows exactly what we're voting on. Item A is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a proposal from Gresham Smith and Partners relative to the Lee Road area traffic study. Item B is approval and authorization for the mayor to execute the annual report for the NPDES Phase 2 MS4 program. Item C is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Southeast Fire LLC relative to the fire department apparatus servicing. Item D is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with AT&T relative to putting transmission lines underground in the downtown area along Lowry Street. Item E is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Betty Brin Museum relative to the rental of the Thomas Edison Secret Lab exhibit. Item F is approval of additional design services with Klein Sweeney Associates relative to the Captain Jeff Coos USMC Memorial. And item G is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Kimley Horn relative to the engineering and architectural services associated with the ADA transition plan and self-evaluation. Is there anything council would like to pull off and vote on individually? Seeing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. We'll now move on to item 7, which is old business. We have 3 public hearings tonight. The first one is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 49, parcel 107.00, containing approximately 4.6 acres. It's requested by Jimmy Maynard to go from R1 to C4. The property is located at 10259 Old Nashville Highway, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, there's not been any changes to this request since you all looked at it on first reading. This is on Old Nashville Highway, kind of between intersection of 2 intersections of Stewart Valley Drive and Avery Park Drive. Land use plan would support medium-density, single-family residential development in this area. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1, C2, C4, as well as the Lennox PUD. There is an existing house and some accessory buildings on this parcel. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request unanimously.
Questions for Kevin or comments? Mark or Tim, anything? Okay. Since there are none, then I will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, I will close this public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
Motion to approve.
A
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7B is also a public hearing. It's a consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 28, parcel 103.01, containing approximately 43.3 acres. It's requested by Richard Toon to go from R1 to R3. The property is located at the end of Williamsport Drive, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a request or a property that has been before you before and was withdrawn, so it has been resubmitted. It's the same request to be rezoned to R3. There are, in addition to the Williamsport Drive, there are 3 additional roads stubbed into the property, which are Bonifay Drive, High Ridge Drive, and then another leg of Williamsport Drive. The land use plan would support medium-density residential development in this area. Surrounding zoning is all R3. The Planning Commission did review this and recommended approval unanimously.
Questions for Kevin about this? I think it's been before us quite a few times.
Yeah,
So
I just
yes.
would like to triple check.
Okay.
To see you've not had any phone calls on this
I
at
have
all.
not.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before the public hearing? Okay. Then we will go to the public to see if anyone is here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
Motion we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7C is also a public hearing. It's a consideration of an ordinance relative to the increase in the annual salary of the Town of Smyrna Municipal Court Clerk. It is a second reading. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, as you stated, second reading, the HR Director completed a salary study for the court clerk and made a recommendation of $75,000 as the salary for that position.
Okay. We discussed this at length at the workshop, and then we also discussed it again on first reading. So any other questions or comments before going to the public hearing? Okay. Then we will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
I move we approve.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to our new business under item 8, and we have our Planning Commission report. Our first item of business is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 33, parcel 71.00 and 71.01, containing approximately 12.61 acres. It's requested by Nathan Melson to go from R1 to PUD. The properties are located out on Rocky Fork Road, and this is a first reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a request for rezoning. It's on Rocky Fork Road, kind of at the corner of Rocky Fork Road and Big Sun Lane. It's at the southeast of Rocky Fork Middle School. Land use plan would support a mix of office, retail, multifamily in this area. Surrounding zoning is R1 and R3. The requested PUD is 99 townhouses along with 2 commercial lots. The commercial lots will be developed in accordance with C2 as far as uses, setbacks, and lot coverage and that type of stuff. Access would be from Rocky Fork Road as well as Percival Street. There was a PUD booklet that came in with this, and I did attach that to your into your packet. The Planning Commission did review this. I did recommend denial. And since that time, the developer has requested that you all defer this on first reading. But obviously that's up to council, how you go with that. But they did request deferral. So, and I guess that's all that I've got.
Jeff, if they've requested us to defer it, do we need,
You're not bound by that, but since it's on your agenda, if you'd like to defer, I'd like to have a vote on that. If you choose to, but you can vote either way.
Okay. Tim, Mark, Jerry, anything from planning?
Actually, there was a lot of discussion on this, and there were, from the first time it came to planning to the second time they came back, we had asked for a lot of things to be improved and dealt with, and when they came back the next time, we just didn't feel like they had made any headway in some of the things that we'd requested. So knowing that's a pretty future major artery for us and the schools out there, we just really wanted to put some guidelines on this PUD that made it look nicer, that gave good driveway ingress and egress and so forth. So design review was one of the questions. There's a parcel, and Jerry was here, I think Tim was absent, but there's a parcel that the city has a little piece of, and that dealt with a couple of issues on how we would address that from the commercial perspective of it. So, I mean, it's up to the council what they want to do, but on its face, we just weren't ready to give it a nod. So,
how does the future plans of widening Rocky Fork Road play into this? I'm looking at the drawing, and it looks like they're right up to the current right-of-way. So it would kind of limit us on that side of the road if we extended that onto the future Rocky Fork Exchange at any point.
The right-of-way that's shown on the plans is the right-of-way that we have acquired or are in the process of acquiring. So that is not the existing right-of-way. That is the new right-of-way.
That's the one for the current plan, which would be turning lane, 3 lanes, right?
I believe we're requiring right-of-way for the whole thing, though, right?
I thought we were requiring right-of-way for 5.
We are requiring right-of-way for 5.
Okay, so they're out of that right-of-way.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin, were this to come in under just normal zoning, what zoning would be required to facilitate this?
Well, the townhouse part of it would be R6. The 2 commercial lots are C2, which is what they've requested to develop it as if it were C2 on those 2 lots.
And we did talk about as well putting I think it's $60 million schools there, and then putting the townhomes right there next to the school. That was part of the discussion as well.
Okay. I guess here's the thing. If there were so many changes that planning felt like needed to be done, it's going to have to go back to planning. Us deferring it, I wouldn't think really does anything to help it, because it would have to go back to planning for the changes that planning wants to see done, correct?
If they're substantial enough that it changes the PUD, then yes, it depends on what you do.
I can see you have a question or comment.
Well, some of the I did watch the meeting, and a lot of the issues that you had, I feel were very valid issues. The fact that there was no visitor parking, they couldn't tell you how many 3 or 2 bedrooms. They didn't know, as far as driveway, whether or not that would work. They also were iffy on the type of siding. They were going to put brick on some that were facing the major thoroughfares, but vinyl on places that were not facing. And I thought that all those issues were valid enough that it wasn't something I think that we should defer and then get back to. So
A referral would be for 30 days, right?
Yes.
Okay, so have they resubmitted to planning to get it back in front of planning so that it would be back within the 30 days?
No, they haven't submitted anything new to me.
Okay, so I'm not sure what we would accomplish by deferral. I know planning's going to want to discuss this at length if they decide to do it that way. So I think it needs to go back in planning's hands.
I can tell you from my perspective as a council member, I hope planning discusses it at length. And I would want the developer to know that I'm not comfortable with the way that it is now either. And Raquel, I think I kind of heard the same thing from you as well, so.
I think, I agree. I wouldn't want this to, even with changes, I wouldn't want the council to be responsible for reviewing those. I would want planning to review those. So because of that, I'll make a motion that we deny this.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just one thing, and I'll be in agreement with the denial, but just one thing that I want to kind of implore Kevin to help us with maybe in the future as we look at some of this density. One of the big problems with this one and some others we've seen in the past is that stacked parking space where there's not really enough room for a car and a half before they hit the sidewalk. And they're not using garages in these units because they have no storage. So at some point, I think I'd like to bring something back to planning for us to address how dense these are and the lack of parking, even though they had, I think, 12 spots in this one for guest parking total for 99 units, 12 spots for guest parking. I just don't think it offers enough room in these developments, whether it's a PUD or what, so.
Yeah, well, I thought about that. I made a note to myself that night. Let's look at visitor parking. And so I've actually kind of reached out to some of the surrounding communities and to try to find what do they require on that. I think the concern isn't
as much visitor parking. We need it in there, but it's residential parking.
Right.
I agree.
But addressing all of that, you
Right.
know, we basically are two spaces per unit, regardless of the size of the unit or anything. And so I have received a few responses, so I am looking at
There's
that.
no way people can park in the streets in these things, and sometimes that's what we find. So.
Well, I know that you all made a little trip out to a development just in the last week or so with this exact issue, that people are consistently parking on the road. Well, what happens if there's an emergency? What happens if the fire truck has to get through or the police department has to get through? So we're thinking about the safety of the people that are in these developments. So I agree.
It's not just townhomes.
No.
It's some residential
Developments,
lots.
that's right.
Yeah,
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is denied. We'll move on to our second item of business under the Planning Commission report. It's a consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation and R3 zoning of property located on tax map 54, parcels 53.00 and 54.00, and tax map 55. Parcel 29.01 containing approximately 11 acres. It's requested by S. Collins 2 Properties, LLC. The properties are located at 7866 and 7906 Rocky Fork Road and 610 Inez Drive. This is a first reading. Kevin?
Yes, ma'am, council. This is an annexation request for 3 separate parcels. 2 on Rocky Fork Road, southeast of the intersection with Briley Road, and then a property at the end of Inez Drive, about 3,300 feet west of where it intersects with Allenville Road. 2 of these parcels are adjacent to parcels previously annexed and zoned R3. One is adjacent to a parcel previously annexed and zoned PRD, which is the Amberton PRD. Land use plan would support low-density, single-family residential development in this area. Again, the surrounding zoning is R3 and PRD in town. and RM in Rutherford County. This area does lie within Consolidated Utility District's boundary for water service, so they would be providing water, but the town would be providing all the other services. There is an existing single-family residence on each parcel. The Planning Commission did review this and did recommend approval unanimously.
Questions for Kevin or comments from any of the Planning Commission members?
So how many houses per acre? I mean, yes, per lot would be able to fit on
Well,
these?
R3 is a 10,000
Okay.
square feet minimum lot size, so it's roughly about 2.5 to 3 per acre is usually the density.
Okay.
Actually, you see once you build in roads and that sort of thing.
Other questions or comments? Then do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next item has been pulled from the agenda.
That's correct.
Okay. Then we will move on to item 4, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 27P, Group C, parcel 11.00, containing approximately 4.9 acres. It's requested by Moran Janabachnish. From C2 to C5, the property is located at 307 Hazelwood, and this is a first reading. Kevin?
Yeah, this is a tract of land, as you said, on the 307 Hazelwood Drive. It's about 600 feet north of Enid Springs Road West. Land use plan would support a downtown mixed-use type development in this area. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1, R2, C2, and C3. There's an existing automobile service and repair building on the parcel. The request was to rezone the property so it could add automobile sales to this tract. The Planning Commission did review this and did recommend denial unanimously.
Questions or comments for Kevin on this?
Only comments is the request to go to C5 would have allowed car sales, correct?
That's right.
And I assume that was the justification or behind the conversation.
Is there business operating out of there right now?
Yes, the service and repair business, which was allowed when that in the C2 zone when that was begun. So it's a grandfather at that use. So.
Is there a towing business operating out of there also?
I believe so, yeah, which is an automotive service and repair.
So that's allowed?
Yeah, it's an automotive service and repair under our zoning ordinance.
Would that include any type of long-term storage of vehicles?
It could, I guess, yeah. I mean,
in a C2 zone?
And that, at the time, all that use was approved with the site plan and everything. It was anticipated long-term storage of vehicles because the whole back parking lot was to be fenced and was fenced, so.
It is fenced now?
It was planned for the dealership that.
Well, the service and repair business.
Right, primarily for the
Right.
dealership and
Right.
dealer vehicles.
Now
Is it fenced?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it's fenced. So if it's not fenced, can they have a towing service there because they're not fenced?
They couldn't store any cars there without a fence, no.
Can we make sure that we check that to see?
We can,
I
certainly.
was actually by there day before yesterday, I think. I don't recall a fence. I was looking more at the lighting that they had erected and everything there, but I don't
believe it
remember.
had to be
the fence.
screen fence.
I think
Yeah,
so
it
too.
would have to be a solid
6
fence,
foot.
right.
Yeah, I don't
Couldn't be
think
chain
it's-
link or whatever.
You know, as I recall this, we were hesitant as both a planning commission and a council to approve, although it was allowed there, and one of our major concerns was the residential there, as far as making sure that, you know, with a car lot, there would have been a lot more traffic, lighting issues and things like that. And when it was brought before us, it was going to be a repair facility. And again, part of it was primarily to service the auto dealers' vehicles, because I think at the time they were using,
They were at
the
the
place
feed.
around the corner?
They were at the old feed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so this really troubles me.
Well, I think that's why planning did what they did, so.
Okay, let's address first what's brought before us, and then we'll have discussion about from there on. How about that? Okay, so do I have a motion for this item?
Motion that we deny the request.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is denied. Now let's address kind of what's taken place there. So if it is a towing, if they're doing towing,
They can't
They
store,
can't.
they can't store vehicles there without a fence. I mean,
okay,
that wouldn't be allowed.
is that something codes can go by and have a discussion with them about?
Sure.
Okay.
I think they've also erected some light poles. Can you have those checked on as well?
They erected those light poles in anticipation of adding parking for sales.
Yeah.
And now that's not gonna happen, so.
If it wasn't, I assume if it wasn't in the original plan or design, then they shouldn't be there.
And how does that affect the houses all around them? In regards to, I mean, is it,
I mean, the light from that, they would have to meet our ordinance regarding lighting as far as what leaves the property at the property line.
and have we looked at that?
I have not looked at it, no. I don't think it's been looked at.
But back to Steve's point, if it wasn't approved on the original plan, then it shouldn't be allowed to be there, correct?
There was a revised plan submitted, I think, that had that on there.
That had the lighting there?
And the additional parking. Not for, this was before they started talking about adding, again, I think this was in anticipation of the car sales use being added. I think, and this was all when that was still allowed.
I'd like to get some clarity around that, because if the lighting was, if there was certain lighting allowed and approved as part of the original plan to be a repair only, and if things have been added since then, you know, I guess I want to make sure that, number one, it's allowed, because I don't remember, and it may be just my memory, I don't remember somebody coming back and saying, okay, now we've got a revised plan and we're adding lighting for it. If it was done just in anticipation that we were going to approve a car lot, then that's where I have an issue.
Well, it was at the revised plan, they didn't tell me, or there was no,
Okay.
hey, we're gonna look to add sales at this site at that time. But they did add parking, had a revised plan, they did add some additional parking. And at the time that was done, sales would have been allowed, because it was allowed in C2 at that time. So, that may have been their plan. They didn't indicate that to me, but that may have been their plan all at the time, so.
Kevin, with the site plan, would have it had to show them the lighting, though?
Yeah, they would have had, well, yeah, they would have had to show
So
the
we could look at
lighting.
their site plan and tell if it was ever approved with or without, right?
Right.
Why don't we do this? Because I think we've kind of caught Kevin a little bit off guard here. So why don't we let Kevin and whoever else needs to be in on this meeting get together and meet. You hear what our concerns are about this property. If you can email all of us and let us know how you plan on going forward. Does everybody feel okay about that?
I have a couple of questions still, though.
Sure.
One about the property between the paved area and the trailer park. Is that a retention area, or what is that?
No, the detention area is at the rear of the property.
Okay, so what is the rest of it planned to be?
Well, that was, again, where they had planned for more parking. At this point, it's nothing, I assume.
Okay. When was this zone commercial?
When was it zone commercial?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was this zone when I came to work here.
That's what I
It's been a
thought.
long time,
Right,
real long time.
Right. And I guess that's one of the points I wanted to make, is that it of course never came to council, but by the same token, when it came before the planning commission, it met the requirements for the zoning, and there was not a lot that the council could do about.
Or planning. Or planning.
Or
could
planning,
do.
either one, right.
No, and I'll just tell you to that point, when, of course, we were concerned when it came before planning like that, and we knew it was an approved use, we went out of our way to make sure that it was going to be friendly to the residential.
Right.
You know,
As
as
it
much
could be.
as it could be, considering. But, you know, it was one of those things where you're in a rock and a hard place at that point, because at that point in time, it was an allowed use, and it wasn't being asked to be rezoned or you know, brought in as a PUD or anything. It was a C2 at that time.
I'm going to go off on another little tangent, as I've known to do from time to time, but, you know, a few years ago, we had looked at expanding the historic district, and we caught a resounding no from many of the property owners in that area and other areas too, and that, had we done that, that would have been able to give us a little bit more leeway in what would be allowed in this particular area. And, you know, I'd still like for us to look at sometime in the near future. I realize we're working on the downtown areas now at expanding the historic zoning area. That's one of the things that people talk about all the time, is that here we have the area at Front Street that we've worked so hard on and bringing up to some very high quality standards, or working toward that anyway. And then you go right around the corner, and then we've got a commercial business that doesn't actually fit within the flavor of the whole area. That's all I have, sir.
Well, I think our hands were tied.
Absolutely.
But we can address some of these issues that we're talking about if those things are taking place. So, okay, anything else for that? Kevin, if you could just email us and let us know once you all have had that discussion. Okay, we will move on to the fifth item, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 34G, Group C, parcel 14.01, containing approximately .96 acre. It's requested by Steve Kroger to go from C2 to PCD. The property is located on Sergeant Asbury Hahn Way and Nissan Drive. It is a first reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a rezoning request. As you said, it does have frontage on Nissan Drive as well as Sergeant Asbury Hahn Way. It's 0.96 acre, 96 hundredths of an acre. It's was a lot, it's lot 14R of the Smyrna Commons development. A land use plan would support commercial development here. Surrounding zoning is a mix of C2 and I3. This proposed PCD is for an automotive service and repair use, very specifically a car wash. Access would be from Sergeant Asbury Hahn Way. Again, it was a PUD. There was a layout plan as well as some architectural elevations that were submitted as a part of the request. And so I did include that with your packet. The Planning Commission did review this and recommended it unanimously.
Questions or comments for Kevin on this?
My concern would have been the issue with the stacking, but you all did address that at the planning meeting, and it appears that that's not going to be something that will be an issue. So
That's a good point. We did dive into that pretty deep, and actually I took some time and met with the people that are proposing this after the first meeting just to make sure of that, to sit down and talk to them one-on-one. The way they are arranged, they have an express type setup. They have an express lane for members. So that keeps them flowing pretty easily through the express line. But their stacking issues, they addressed them with us, with me individually. And we had some other questions too that they took care of, and they addressed them all. So we felt a lot better about it this time than we did on its original format. The reason it came as a PCD instead of a straight C2 type of zone was because it's like, was it 4/10 of an acre short of being able, 4/100 of an acre short.
So
yeah, and these lots are pretty narrow as they are. So if you look at Steak and Shake and some of those Checkers and all those down through there, those are some pretty narrow lots, and they were able to make that work on this particular parcel.
Kevin, is this the lot in between the sidewalks that do not match right there? I think this is, they're offset, and I don't see in his design a sidewalk along Asbury Hahn Way, so.
Yeah, they'll have to have a sidewalk.
I just want to make sure that they fix, if we can, we fix the mismatch at the same time. Since their driveway is on the left side, the current sidewalk could dead into their driveway, and then the other one could line up appropriately with the one in front of churches.
Right, yeah, they'll have to, when they submit their site plan, if it's past the second reading and it's rezoned and submit a site plan, they'll be shown on their site plan.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to add that, I felt like the developers worked well as far as meeting our concerns as far as the exteriors. You're seeing a lot more brick versus EFS, which I know HG will appreciate there. The fact of the door finishes and then just the overall area. Then we're commercial, we're C2 on one side and we're industrial across the way with Nissan. So I think it's a good fit for the area.
I agree. I mean, I think, sounds like from planning, they really did work with you guys. And then I also had the stacking concern because I know, Chief, we get quite a few phone calls with the one over on Sam Ridley that y'all sometimes have to go out and direct traffic especially after a good winter storm. So it looks like they've tried to address that as well. So other concerns, questions, comments?
Well, I was just going to say that on the stacking part, I think the one you were talking about will hold about 7, and this will hold about 15 or 16. So they've about doubled the amount that to be able to hold cars there.
To be honest, I didn't think a lot about that until I had business owners around that one calling me saying people can't get in my parking lot to come do business with me because of the cars that are trying to get in. So I'm glad to see that we're addressing that. Other questions or concerns? Then
I do have a question.
Sure.
In the packet here, it talks about the brick. Owensboro Brick Scuffletown Modular. What does modular mean? What is that? Both bricks are listed as modular.
Honestly, don't know that I know the answer to that. They're here, they might can answer that. I don't know that I have an answer for you.
Jeff Peach, you're the wordsmith. What does that mean?
Is this the owner here?
Yes, sir. You might.
Can you? I don't know if you can answer that question or not.
Will you just state your name for the record, please?
Jeremy Hall. Modular is a standard size queen brick, full size.
Size of the brick.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
That's it. Thanks.
Thanks.
I just was really making sure it wasn't some sort of faux brick or something like that.
Other questions? Then do I have a motion?
I'll move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B is a package liquor board report. There are no applications for the town council to consider at this time. Item C is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Musco Lighting relative to the sports lighting for the Rotary Soccer Park Annex. Mike, how are you?
Great. Thank you, Mayor. This was on the workshop agenda, but subsequent of that, we did ask for more information from Musco Lighting, but just to give you a summary of what the project is, it is for Rotary Soccer Park Annex, 3 fields to be lit with LED lighting. We're also going to include some parking lot lighting and the electrical service to come in and serve the lighting and future needs of that park. And we met with the soccer club about 2 years ago now, and part 2 of that project was to install the lighting in the agreement that we brought before the town council. So we're to that point. As you well know, Sourcewell is a buy board. It used to be NJPA, and they've recently changed their name. North Rutherford Soccer is donating $10,000 towards this project as well. And what we asked Musco to include, since the workshop was a purchase and install agreement, that way it had a little bit more teeth than just a quote and the scope of work. So that's what's been included. That's what I sent out to you in the email. So we would just ask for approval to move forward on that project.
Questions for Mike on this? We got that email last week. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item D is.
How's the grass coming on the new annex?
Chris mowed it today, actually. So
No kidding, really?
Yeah, it's coming along well. I mean, there's some weeds out there, but we'll get rid of those in the wintertime. So he said it's got some thin spots, but I still think it'll take some of next summer to get it where we want it. But it's coming along. It's a tough project to do it in-house, you know. But it's come along. I think the next month will, if we keep warm temperatures, we'll do well.
Very good, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Item D is consideration of a resolution appropriating funds for nonprofit organizations relative to the Linebaugh Library Smyrna branch.
Mayor and Council, passing this resolution will allow us to make the $24,000 payment in our next check run if you pass it. So we're asking for approval.
This is the discussion we had after Steve was with the board, the library board, in regards to the air conditioning units.
And this is capital, so not part of the reoccurring budget, correct?
Capital, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, questions for Rex or Steve? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, anything, I don't think we have anything under other tonight. Kevin, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit. We, as a council, have gotten an email just since we've been here in the meeting from someone who is asking a question about rezoning and getting notification. Can you talk a little bit about notification and how that works and who gets notification around a rezoned piece of property?
Sure, yeah, we do a couple things. Of course, we put the notice in the paper, which is what we're legally required to do. That's one thing we do. The other parts that we do is we put signs up, and then we send letters to adjoining property owners.
So any parcels that are affected, the adjoining ones are done, and then there'll also be signs put up around that property.
Right, and we also, when I say adjoining, it also means like across the street, that sort of thing too.
Okay.
So we send them out, obviously, we don't send them certified or anything like that, so
Right.
we don't have any guarantee
So
that they get there.
there's some responsibility by the homeowner or by the people that are surrounding that.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from anybody?
Kevin, what's being built next to Starbucks?
Public, next to the, that is a Heartland Dental Clinic.
Other questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. I just wanted to make sure we had accurate information. Miss Diane, anything?
I have nothing.
Mr. Gill? Mr. Peach? Raquel?
I would like to say thank you regarding two particular back-to-school events that I was a part of. One was Grace Missionary Baptist Church, and they had a full day of activities and gave away backpacks, and so did Alert CDC, which is part of Living Truth Church, and they had their annual event. They've been doing theirs for 11 years, and they gave away backpacks and free haircuts and health screenings, and they had bouncy houses, and they actually did a giveaway for teachers as well. So I would just like to say thank you to the individuals that partook of those two events, and I'm very excited about the fact that we come together as a community to help others during this time of year. So I want to recognize them for what they've done as community partners and being able to bless other people with their activities. So
Great. Thanks for being a part of those. HG?
Just want to remind everybody that Depot's Days is coming up the end of next month. It's, like I say, it's a month away, but if you're interested in having a booth or anything, you probably need to do it sometime soon. They very well could fill up this year, but just go to the SIMA webpage and follow the prompts to Depot Days. And buy local while you're at it. That's all I've got.
Oh, I forgot something.
Yes, ma'am.
May I interrupt one
Sure.
moment? The Smyrna Arts Commission with Carpe and the Smyrna Arts Cooperative is having a pop-up art show on Saturday the 18th. It will be at the Paul Johns Park, and it will be from 8 to 12. So if you are free and can come out, we would love to have you come out and support the artists around town. Thank you.
Great. Tim?
Nope, Raquel covered it for me.
Great.
Oh, sorry.
No, you can't. I'm just kidding.
Well, Jerry, got through your first official meeting? Almost. Done well tonight. I think you even made a motion.
And got it approved.
And got it approved, that's right. Anything tonight?
I don't want to steal your thunder, but certainly enjoyed going out to the food bank this past Thursday, and the check that was presented there by Publix. It was pretty awesome.
Great. Yep. Steve?
Couple of items. There is, HG mentioned the Depot days, but there's actually a Depot event this weekend, the Depot Barbecue Festival. Still scheduled, Mike, for this weekend? Yep. Oh, so Mayor Esther, you probably had it on your list. I apologize. But that is this Saturday, 6 to 9.
Good. I've got a long list.
Yeah, that's what I do, I guess. Also, congratulations to my daughter who graduated MTSU at the degree in business finance this past Saturday. So she has officially completed draining me of money.
No, she hasn't.
Well, let me just say this: I don't have to write
so much to learn, young squire.
I don't have to write those $13,000 checks every few months. But she has already found a job and has already started and seems to be enjoying it well. So congratulations to Stephanie.
You've been busy with a son going to the Marines and a daughter graduating from college.
When they were little, I remember Pam and I talking about someday we would have a daughter that's a senior and a son that's a freshman, and a daughter that's in college, a senior, and a son who's starting college. And so we thought 15, 18 years from now we're going to have these times that are going to be extremely busy. And we are actually just now finishing those, and it's very surreal to look back and think that was just yesterday that we were talking about that. So it's pretty surreal to have a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old. I don't feel old enough for that, but very proud of them. They both are doing great things with what they've been given, and I'm proud of that.
Congratulations. Me?
You're up.
I have a few things, and one, just so you'll know, we got an email last week, Mike Strange, you'll appreciate this, from Jill about the Christmas parade. Believe it or not, we're in August, and the Christmas parade is already being planned by the infamous Jill Strange, so that's coming before you know it. First Sunday in December, usually, I think, correct?
It is.
Brian, condolences to your loss on your brother this past week. We've been thinking about you. Prayers for your family. Want to say a special thank you to Rhonda Allen and the County Commission for doing such a wonderful job over at Smyrna Middle School. Some of us were able to go last week and participate in that ribbon cutting, and it's kind of neat to walk it back into a school where many of us actually went to high school, and to see the old tile mosaic wall was still there. So when you walked in the school, now you've got this long corridor of classroom and space where it used to be a canopy, and you would walk in and the office was on the left. There was the wall. I can remember Mr. Mack sitting with his chair kind of kicked up on two legs with his arms crossed, just watching down those hallways. He had eyes in the back of his head. He knew what was going on in that school all the time. And of course we lost him, I think, when I was a sophomore. Mr. Rakes became the principal. He was there. So it's kind of neat to see some of the Smyrna High School history relived a little bit, if you will. Dan was there doing the story, and a lot of us that were able to be there got to reminisce quite a bit. And so also, and I don't know if you or the chief will have an opportunity to speak on this, but I'd like to go ahead and reach out if it's okay. Chief, we employed the new pumper truck yesterday into service, and so it was a neat event. I enjoyed being a part of that. But as part of the fact that our Smyrna Fire Department has got a new vehicle and so much good going on in the town, there's some things right now with the fire department that are sort of sad and emotional. Stacy Harrell, which is one of our firefighters, his son is dealing with a cancerous tumor in his brain. He's in Vanderbilt. And so the fire department is trying to raise a little bit of money on the side to help Stacy and his family with some of their medical expenses. Stacy was also the owner of Pro Fence. If any of you ever had any fence work done in the community or saw his trucks, he's kind of had to shut that business down for the time being at least, simply due to the needs of his son, Braxton. So at the fire hall yesterday, and I made sure the council that wasn't there received one of these, Chief. These armbands, they just simply say, "Pray for Braxton." So I'd like to ask the community to do the same thing. I'm wearing another one that has Shannon on here, and Shannon Williams, we're all still praying for her as well with kind of the same issue. But if we could lift Braxton up in our prayers, he's a young man, he's probably 13-ish, I think, and he's really struggling, and all he wants is a cure. So, Chief, if you don't mind, can you just real quickly, even from your chair, come up, tell everybody how they can help with these bracelets?
Yes, sir, thank you. Actually, the bracelets came up with Lieutenant Phelps, and Daniel Klaus came up with the idea. And they were passing them out. They were not asking for contributions. They were just asking for a prayer. If you'd like to give, that's fine, but they were initially just asking for a prayer for Braxton and the family. We're running low. We ordered some more today for Lieutenant Phelps.
Good problem.
Yes, sir, exactly. They have raised, initially they bought 130, and they have raised over $1,000. And hopefully they will be with us at the Barbecue Fest this weekend and at Depot Days also. But Jerry and Lieutenant Stacy and their daughter Savannah, we just want to keep Braxton and all of them in our prayers, and that's the purpose of why the guys came up with these bracelets.
Can they be, where can they, if somebody's looking to help or wants one, what's the best way?
Right now we have them at the headquarters, our administration office, the old City Hall, 145 South Lowry. And that's where they are right now and where the new ones will come to. You can also contact Lieutenant Phelps if you want to get some, or me. And like again, we're not asking for money. We're asking for a prayer, but we will take a donation for the family.
Right. Thank you. I know my office is already involved in doing some of that as well. We've got a firefighter there.
I heard that this afternoon.
So,
we appreciate that.
We're trying to spread the word, and that's why I wanted to take an opportunity this evening to make that a little more public. So I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That's all, Mayor.
Okay. Brian?
This evening, I'd just like to ask for a moment of personal privilege here. Now, I do want to thank the council, the town. Over this last week, it's been a pretty difficult time for my family, and with my brother's passing, and I just don't know how to describe to you how much we've sensed the support, the prayers, the kindness, and we're very, very thankful. And just attributes the decision we made a little over a month ago to come to Smyrna, and my wife and I have talked about it. It just continues to show blessing in our life, and I thank you for that.
Great. Thanks, Brian. A couple of housekeeping items. First of all, our surplus auction closes Wednesday, August the 15th. Buyers may bid on items via an internet-based auction system at govdeals.com. Rex, there's lots of goodies on there, isn't there? Oh, looks, Rex has left the building. That's what happens when you leave the building. He's gone to bed.
Yeah, when he walked
He's
out,
gone
he
to
said
bed.
there's a lot of goodies.
That's right. Next, Splashtown and Gregory Mill Splash Pad. I've had a lot of questions about this. Splashtown and the Splash Pad will remain open on the weekends until Labor Day. Labor Day is the last day of the season for both of these places here in town. Then the Depot District Barbecue Fest, we've talked a little bit about, will be Saturday, August the 18th, downtown from 6 to 9 on Front Street. Bring your family for some great music and barbecue vendors, live music, and family fun. I would also recommend bringing your lawn chairs. Then the 16th Annual Wings of Freedom Fish Fry will be Saturday, September 8th, 2018. Gates open at 4 and dinner is served at 6. This year's event will honor Purple Heart recipients. And are you a Purple Heart recipient, or do you know someone that is? If you do, you can apply online at www.smyrna.com. I don't know that that's right. or register to be a special guest for the 16th Annual Wings of Freedom Fish Fry. Tickets are $40 and can be purchased online or from quite a few locations around town. Amnesty Day is August the 29th at 9 a.m., an official pardon for individuals with outstanding driver's license warrants. The Smyrna General Sessions is offering an official pardon for individuals with outstanding driver's license warrants. The deadline you may contact with the judicial office is August the 17th, 2018, to be placed on the August 29th court date at 9 a.m. If you do not appear on the Amnesty Day, the failure to appear will remain in place. Should you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the judicial office at 615-355-5854. Farmers Market is every Saturday until September 15th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And a reminder that the Captain Jeff Coos Memorial pavers still can be purchased via mobile calls or through Smyrna Town Hall. We have very few t-shirts left. They can be purchased here at Town Hall or at the SOAC Center. They're $15. The 2X and 3X are $20. Magnets are $5 and decals are $3. We will be sending in the paver request on August 31st. So if you'd like to get a paver, that is still available. Also, Jerry, you brought up the Second Harvest. Publix made a $100,000 contribution, which is phenomenal. It's going to allow them to be able to carry perishable goods now. So I think that's going to be huge for our community. Also, they are always looking for volunteers with groups to sort food. So if you're interested in that, you can get in touch with them. Chief Bill, thanks for the housing ceremony. It was definitely different and unique, and I think we all of us that were able to attend really enjoyed it. And I think we all feel a little bit safer knowing that we've got that pumper truck on this side of the track. So thank you. Anything else?
Mayor Esther, I did check real quick. wofsmyrna.com is correct.
Is correct.
Yes.
Okay, it just
So-
didn't look correct. So
Yeah.
W of Smyrna, if you know of a Purple Heart recipient, they can be honored at the Wings of Freedom Fish Fry. Okay, anything else? Nothing else, then we are adjourned.